Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Dr. Suzana Camargo, professor at the Columbia Climate School. Dr. Camargo, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
As we sit here right now, Category 4 Hurricane Milton is barreling towards the west coast of Florida. It's expected to make landfall later this evening. So to start the conversation, what do we need to know about this storm?
Well, the forecasts have been really on top. That is for days already saying that we're going to have this major hurricane making landfall in the west coast of Florida since before even it became a hurricane. So we had lots of warning that that's what's going to happen. And the rapid intensification that occurred were really astounding. We were really surprised how fast it went from a weak storm to a Cat 5 storms, and now it went back to a Cat 5 last night. And when they were flying, the measurements are really low pressure record, for this location. And we are really impressed with the intensity of the storm, and because of the size as well, that will lead to a lot of storm surge. So the combination of a very intense storm with strong winds and also this accumulation of this intense storm for multiple days and large storm will lead to a lot of storm surge as well. So this is very concerning.
I'm not the hurricane expert here, you are, but I've never seen, or at least in modern history, a storm in the same day intensify so rapidly from people reporting Cat 1 to Cat 5. So how did it develop so fast? What is making this storm so dangerous?
Well, from the beginning of the hurricane season, we have been forecasting that all the conditions were there for a very active hurricane season. And in particular, the ocean is very warm, and the Gulf of Mexico is usually a very warm location. But if you even compare to previous years and how what we call the ocean heat content, so the area of the ocean that we care about hurricanes is very warm, warmer than on average. So you have these conditions that are prime for the hurricane to intensify. We have a lot to understand still about the science of rapid intensification, and it's very hard to forecast rapid intensification, but all the elements were there for it to occur.
In some reporting, some officials have said if you stay in an evacuation zone and don't leave, you should write your phone number and and your own name on your body so people can identify you. That is the red flag officials are waving in Florida right now. So as the expert on hurricanes, what is scaring you the most about this storm?
I'm very worried with the people who do not have the resources or capability to evacuate, that do not have the financial resources or have disabilities or are sick and cannot evacuate, because these are the people that will be in real danger. And we are running out of time for evacuations anyway. So this is really my concern, the people that are not able to evacuate, even if they want to.
And it's just heartbreaking, especially in the area where Helene just hit 2 weeks ago. The storm surge is reportedly going to be historic and unprecedented. A hurricane expert from AccuWeather told one of my colleagues that this is going to be a history-making storm. Do you think climate change is contributing to the ferocity of this storm?
Well, we cannot say 100% without doing some analysis, and that's what we call detection and attribution studies do. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of them about these storms very soon. But what we're seeing is what we have been saying for, at this point, decades. That's what we expect, the contribution of climate change to hurricanes, that climate change will make hurricanes more intense, so that we have more of these very intense hurricanes. both in terms of their wind and also the precipitation associated with them. We expect also to have be intensified by climate change, and the storm surge as well, because we have with climate change, we also have sea level rise, so that we already start with the sea at a higher level, and then because you have a more intense storm, that helps and have a higher level of storm surge. So all these facts combined, these are the things we have been saying for a while that we expect to happen with anthropogenic climate change.
And we are listening. We saw Hurricane Helene completely decimate parts of the South just 2 weeks ago. Hurricane Milton is coming through, will make landfall tonight. Are these monster storms, is what you're saying, that these enormous history-making storms going to be the new normal?
Well, it's not that we have them all the time. So it's all in terms, we think in terms of climate change, or in terms of probability. And it's not that the climate change causes the storm. This climate change helps make the storm more intense, more dangerous, increase of the probability of them becoming more intense. So it's not now that we expect that every single storm will be like that, but we're having a shift towards climatology that's we have more of this type of storms.
I am right now on the border of New York. You can see it, the skyline behind me. I remember Hurricane Sandy over a decade ago. I think everyone has that storm that was life-changing for them. When you're looking at this storm as it's making its way to Florida, does it remind you of any storm? Is it comparable to any of those other big monstrous storms?
Well, each storm has its own characteristics. Sandy, we have a lot of impact from storm surge, but it was much more to the north. So have a different, it was already transitioning to extratropical storm. So it's very unique. But I think the way I remember when I was feeling about Hurricane Katrina just before it made landfall, that's what my sense, but it's not very scientific, is what I'm feeling in terms of what could happen in terms of the impacts of Hurricane Milton.
As the expert here, do you think anything's missing from the conversation? Do you have any advice or wisdom to impart on us?
I think really we have to think how we're going to deal in the future with all these cumulative disasters that we are having, how our preparedness for disasters. We really have to give funding for FEMA. We have to give funding for NOAA, so that we are, all these wonderful forecasts the National Hurricane Center is doing. They're flying through the hurricanes and they're, making this very good forecast. They are not possible without funding the federal government, and we have to keep doing that. And in particular, for in terms of disaster response or recovery, we have to do in a higher level, so that we are not only scrambling about the funding. For instance, the Congress has to approve the funding for hurricanes, and as you know very well, that's not happening. So this is the kind of thing, as a nation, we cannot continue to do that.
And I think those flights and when you can see the experts flying in the eye of the storm really shows just how intense those storms are, and is really raising a red flag to the public. But as you noted, we're looking into the future. And if you're looking at forecasts, you can see Hurricane Leslie right behind Milton. What are you looking out for the rest of hurricane season?
Well, unfortunately, the whole forecast for the whole season was for an active, very active season. And for a while, the season was not very active, and people were actually asking us, what's happening? Were the forecast incorrect? Unfortunately, as we can see, that's not the case now. Now we are getting too close to the forecast. So I expect that we are going to have more activity if the incoming, when there's the more hurricanes that we have, they are going to impact the U.S. or not. That's another question. Depends on their track, exactly what happens. But we have also to keep in mind that we already passed the peak, the official, peak of the hurricane season tends to be September. So we are, we're still in the, heart of the hurricane season, but, hopefully as we go forward, the chance of keep on having many storms will decrease.
Well, hopefully the South especially experiences some sort of reprieve after Milton, and hopefully it's not as catastrophic as the experts are predicting here. But as the hurricane season continues to be active, Dr. Camargo, I hope you come back on and join me to provide your insights. Thank you so much today.
Thank you.